Welcome to this MyCap tutorial. In this video, we'll guide you through scheduling a task using the baseline date. Before configuring your baseline date settings, here are some baseline date basics. By default, participant schedules are based on the date they install MyCap and join a project. An additional date can be entered per participant to trigger tasks based on a specific date, the baseline date. The baseline date can be any field on an instrument that is not enabled for MyCap. The baseline date can be entered in a data entry form, within a survey, or within MyCap after the participant joins. The participant will only see the baseline date task in MyCap if the baseline date was not entered in REDCap when the participant joins. Tasks triggered on the install date can be completed before the baseline date is entered. After enabling MyCap for your project and creating instruments, enable the baseline date settings from the MyCap Additional Settings button. Do this before enabling instruments as MyCap tasks. Check the box to use baseline date and select a predefined date field from your project. This field must have a date validation and should not be on an instrument enabled for MyCap. For longitudinal projects with multiple arms, you will need to designate a baseline date field for each arm. If there is an arm with no baseline date field designated, the task in that arm will default to the install date. Next, fill out the baseline date questions. These questions will only be presented in the app if the baseline date has not been entered in REDCap for the participant before joining the project. The first field is the title of the baseline task as it should appear in MyCap. You will then enter a yes or no question about whether the baseline date occurred today. If the participant answers yes to this question, their baseline date will be set to that day's date. If the participant answers no to this question, they will see the next question you enter, asking the participant on what day the baseline event occurred. You can then add an instruction step to the baseline task if you like to provide more information to participants about what date should be entered for the baseline date. Once the baseline date is set, any task can be scheduled relative to that date. You can adjust the task schedule when enabling the task from MyCap under Set the Task Schedule, choosing whether tasks are based on the install date or the baseline date. These screenshots show how the baseline date is presented to participants in MyCap. Participants will see the baseline date task first, followed by any tasks that are triggered based on the participant's install date. Once the baseline date is entered, tasks that are triggered based on the baseline date will appear in today's task list or the overdue or upcoming list based on when they are due. You can view both participants' install and baseline dates within the MyCap Participant Management section. The install date will be populated once the participant joins your project in MyCap. The baseline date is populated once the baseline date is either entered in the participant's record in REDCap or the participant completes the baseline date task within MyCap. That's it! You have successfully enabled and configured MyCap for your REDCap project. You can watch other videos to learn more, visit the MyCap website to access more resources, or reach out to your local REDCap administrator, which you can look up on the REDCap website shown here.